I'd been driving for 12 hours straight through Nevada when exhaustion finally caught up with me. My eyelids felt like they had weights attached to them, and twice I'd felt my head dip forward before jerking back awake. The desert highway stretched endlessly ahead, painted orange by the setting sun, and I knew I had to stop before I became a statistic. That's when I saw the sign, Desert Rose Motel, next exit. The name sounded almost charming, conjuring images of something vintage and quaint. What I found was anything but. The exit ramp led me onto a cracked 2-lane road that cut through scrubland and tumbleweeds. After about 3 miles, the motel appeared like a mirage in the fading light. It was a single-story L-shaped building painted a sun-bleached pink that might have been vibrant once, decades ago. Half the letters in the neon sign were dead, so it just read Des Row E Moel in flickering blue light. I pulled into the parking lot, which was more pothole than pavement. There were maybe 4 other vehicles scattered around, a rusted pickup truck, a sedan with a shattered rear window covered in plastic, and 2 cars I couldn't quite make out in the dimming light. The place looked like it had about 20 rooms total, which meant it was mostly empty. My first instinct was to keep driving, but my body overruled my brain. I was dangerously tired, and the next town was probably another hour away. One night, I told myself, just get some sleep and leave at dawn. The office was a small room attached to the main building, accessible through a glass door with a bell that jangled when I pushed it open. Inside, the air was thick and stale, heavy with the smell of cigarette smoke and something else I couldn't identify. Maybe mildew. The walls were paneled in dark wood, and there was a single desk with a lamp that cast more shadows than light. Behind the desk sat a woman who looked to be in her 60s, though the harsh living of the desert might have aged her prematurely. She had bleached blonde hair with dark roots showing, and she was watching a small television with terrible reception. She didn't look up when I entered. "Need a room," I said. She held up one finger, still watching her show. I waited for what felt like a full minute before she finally reached under the desk and produced a registration card and a pen. "75, she said, her voice gravelly. "Cash only." "I only have a card," I replied. She sighed like I'd just asked her to climb a mountain, then pulled out an ancient credit card machine with the carbon paper slips. "85 for card," she said. I wanted to argue about the $10 upcharge, but decided it wasn't worth it. I just wanted to sleep. I handed her my card and filled out the registration form while she ran it through the machine, making me sign the carbon copy. She handed me a physical key attached to a green plastic tag with the number 12 on it. Around the corner, middle of the building. "Checkout's at 10. Is there somewhere to get food around here?" I asked. "Vending machines by room 4, she said, already turning back to her television. I walked back out into the parking lot, which was now fully dark except for 3 weak floodlights that created pools of yellow illumination. I found room 12 easily enough, wedged between rooms 11 and 13. The door was painted the same faded pink as the exterior, and the number 12 hung slightly crooked, with the 1 barely attached. The key stuck in the lock at first, and I had to jiggle it several times before the deadbolt finally turned. The door opened with a creak that sounded like a horror movie sound effect. The room was exactly what I expected, depressing and worn. The walls were that specific shade of beige that exists only in budget motels, stained in places with water damage. The carpet was brown and thin, worn through to the padding in high-traffic areas. There was a double bed with a comforter that looked clean enough but had probably absorbed decades of other people's sleep and nightmares. A small wooden desk and chair sat against one wall, and an ancient tube television sat on a dresser across from the bed. The bathroom was tiny, just a toilet, sink, and a shower with a curtain that had seen better days. I turned on the faucet and rusty water sputtered out before running clear. At least it ran. I checked the door lock and found it worked, though it took the same amount of jiggling as opening it had. There was also a chain lock, which I engaged. The windows had heavy curtains that were already drawn, which I was grateful for. I was too tired to care about the room's condition. I kicked off my shoes, used the bathroom, and collapsed onto the bed without even pulling back the covers. The mattress was lumpy and the springs complained with every movement, but I was asleep within minutes. I don't know what time it was when I woke up, but it was still fully dark outside. Something had pulled me from sleep, but I wasn't sure what. I lay there in the darkness, listening, trying to figure out what had disturbed me. Then I heard it, footsteps outside, crunching on the gravel and broken pavement. They were slow, deliberate, moving along the building. I held my breath and listened as they grew closer, then stopped right outside my door. For a long moment, there was silence. Then the doorknob rattled. My heart slammed against my ribcage. Someone was trying to open my door. The knob turned and the door pushed inward slightly before the chain lock caught it with a metallic clink. Through the gap, I could see part of a figure silhouetted against the parking lot lights. "Hey," a male voice called out, low but urgent. "You in there? I need help. My car broke down. Can you let me use your phone?" I didn't move. I didn't breathe. Every instinct screamed at me not to answer. "Come on, I can see the lights on," the voice continued. The light wasn't on. "Just need to make a call. Please?" I stayed frozen on the bed, my phone clutched in my hand under the blanket. After what felt like an eternity, the door closed and the footsteps moved away. I heard them try the next door, then the next. Each time, the same routine, rattling the knob, pushing, asking for help. I waited until I couldn't hear the footsteps anymore before I moved. I crept to the window and carefully pulled the curtain back just enough to peek out. The parking lot looked empty except for the same vehicles that had been there when I arrived. I checked my phone, 2:47 a.m. I tried calling the office, but there was no answer. Not surprising, given the woman's level of customer service. I considered calling the police, but what would I tell them? Someone knocked on my door? They'd probably think I was paranoid. I decided to stay awake until dawn, then leave immediately. I sat on the bed with my back against the headboard, watching the door, my phone in one hand and my car keys in the other. I must have dozed off despite my intentions, because I was jolted awake by a sound I couldn't immediately place. A scraping sound, rhythmic and persistent. It took me a moment to realize it was coming from the bathroom. I turned on the bedside lamp with shaking hands and stared at the bathroom door, which I'd left open. The sound continued, scrape, scrape, scrape. Slowly, I got up and moved toward the bathroom, my heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. I reached the doorway and fumbled for the light switch. The bathroom was empty, but the small window above the toilet was open about 6 inches. I definitely hadn't opened it. The screen was gone, and as I watched, I saw fingers appear at the bottom of the window, trying to push it open further. I ran to my bag, grabbed my shoes without putting them on, snatched my wallet and keys, and bolted for the door. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely work the chain lock. Behind me, I heard a thump from the bathroom, the sound of something heavy hitting the floor. I got the door open and ran into the parking lot barefoot, not caring about the gravel cutting into my feet. I made it to my car, threw everything inside, and peeled out of that parking lot so fast my tires screamed. I didn't stop driving until the sun was fully up and I was 2 towns away. Only then, parked in front of a well-lit, chain diner, did I allow myself to shake and cry and realize how close I'd come to something terrible. I filed a police report from the diner, but I doubt anything came of it. The officer who took my statement said the Desert Rose Motel was known for problems, that they'd had calls before. When I asked why it was still open, he just shrugged. I made it home 2 days later, taking only major highways and stopping only at chain hotels in populated areas. I've done a lot of road trips since then, but I've never again let exhaustion push me into taking the first available room. Sometimes I think about that night, about the rattling doorknob and the fingers at the bathroom window, and I wonder what would have happened if I'd been a heavier sleeper. If I hadn't woken up when I did. If the chain lock hadn't held. I never found out who was trying to get into my room or what they wanted. I prefer to keep it that way. Some questions are better left unanswered, some roads better left untraveled, and some motels better left in the rearview mirror.